Good evening, guys, and welcome to another episode of Full Transparency Trading, where I'm your host, Sebastian. And of course, we're over here today on our friend MES, and we're going to learn how to chart out the supply zone and demand zone. Okay, first and foremost, you're going to want to come over here to the 4-hour time frame. And on the 4-hour time frame, you're going to go ahead and slide it into the highest point that we've ever had since trading has been going on, right? And that's going to be over here on your left on July 24th. And this works for any stock that's had a high. And the first thing we're going to do is come over here where you're going to see this little paintbrush right below the fib and the pattern and the long position. There's a little paintbrush. It could be another symbol as well, but it's just going to be a geometric shape. On that, you're going to right click geometric shape, and then you're going to go down to rectangle, which you can actually press Alt, Shift, and R, or favorite at any point in time to make sure that it's at the top of your screen so that you can always get to it. But for now, we're going to click it from here. And how we're going to draw out our demand zone is we're going to take our mouse, layer this white line just over the top of the body of the candle, and then you're going to right click, click add white line. We're going to need that white line to make sure that we stay within the parameters for our rectangle. Click on the rectangle, click on the top of the box, drag it to about right here. And now you're going to drag your supply zone, because the top is going to be your supply zone where the sellers are, all the way to the current time frame. So drag. Okay, bring it over here some more. And drag. So now you're on the current day that we're looking to reach up towards. And there's a technical difficulty right now, but whenever this reaches where it's supposed to be, it looks like we'll actually be going back up there. So then you drag that all the way to the end now, which is perfect. And now we're going to head over. That's your supply zone. Now we're going to head over and create our first demand zone. So we're going to go back to the same date. And as we go to the left, there's no higher point for this to go off of. So this is perfectly fine for where it is currently, right? But the demand zone is going to have some points that it's going to touch several times. So the first demand zone we're going to have is going to be touching right about here. But we're not going to make that a demand zone. We're just going to put a trend line there. Add indicator. No, not add indicator. Add alert. Just place the alert there. The area that we're really looking for is right here, the bottom of these two candles right here, as one of our main demand zones for the high point. So add alert there. We already have one at the bottom of the wicks. We need one that's going to be inside the candle. You know the drill. Click inside of here, layer it on the white line, bring it down to the other white line, and that is your demand zone. Text box white, D-M-A-N-E, Z-O-N-E, not Zomny. Demand zone 1. Because there's going to be a lower demand zone as well. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to shrink this down a little bit by clicking the minus sign. And we're just going to go back in time. All the way through these. Just keep going back in time, see if we can find any others. We can't find any others. That's okay, because this is not new high. So that's why this is demand zone 1. Then we're going to take it over here. We're going to stretch it all the way to the right. And as you can see, this has worked as demand zone or support for quite some time now, actually. But this will last for, you know, the future months and weeks and everything that are to come. Okie dokie. Next up, we're going to draw the lowest demand zone. So this would be supply if we were down below it. It is demand because we are above it currently. So now we're going to go through here. We're going to draw the lower version. First, I want you to select this so that we can see it nice and clear. And what we're going to do is we're going to ignore all of this giant wick here where there was a massive manipulation. And we're just going to do the body right here, this white line, to the bottom of the first regular wick, and that is going to be your demand zone 0. Demand Z0. Demand zone 0 because it's going to be the lowest point that we're going to react off of before we start moving. Now, rule of thumb, you can go down to this one, but I'm not going to do an entire manipulation. This manipulation is massive, so we're just going to do to this wick right here, and then we're going to take it all the way to the left, of course, minimizing that right there. Refresh. And then we're going to pull our demand zone 0 all the way out to the right. Why? Because we could technically hit this area again because we're not currently here. I need to unlock the screen so that I can stay down there. Bring it all the way into the current month. Just looking to the future of September to see where things could go should we go downhill. Shrink it down. bring it over to the left, and as you start stretching it over to the left, you're going to start to see that this acted as support for quite a few areas. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this area right here alone. See, this is where we pushed up to it, acted as support for there, support here, support here, support here. It was resistance before, and it's support there. So that's how you know you have yourself a valid demand zone. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you draw out your demand zones and your supply zones. Your supply zones are going to be at the top. This is a demand zone that was a supply zone until we pushed up through it. Once we pushed up through it, it became a demand zone. So this is our number one demand zone. This is demand zone 0, the lowest area that we would push down to. And then all the way up here is your main demand, your main supply zone, or the highest area we can push to. Now we're going to put a trend line right here on this white line in between this candle here, because we want this to run through to the current week as our current support. This right here is support. So you go to add a text box and just type in the word support. This area right here, we're going to put a trend line at. We're actually going to put it right here. Text mark right there. And we're going to put resistance. All right, so now you have your resistance, your support, your demand zone 1, and your supply zone 1, where we're trying to work our way towards now. We're trying to break this resistance and get to the supply zone. We're trying to hold above this support. So this is the range that we're currently trading within. This is Wednesday of last week. We've been up here ever since Wednesday of last week when we pushed all the way up. And even though we pushed all the way down to the demand zone, we always come back into this area right here between the demand and the support. So this is the current area that we're at, that we were in last week. We fell down below it on Tuesday to Friday, and then we came right back into it starting on Wednesday of last week. So this is a couple weeks ago. This is last week. We were below it. Now we're back into it. And this is the range that we're currently inside of, trying to break out from. But that is, like I said, how you draw your supply and your demand using this shape over here. Let's go over it one more time. You click on this little arrow right here. Sometimes, most of the time, it's going to be a paintbrush first. Then you click on geometric shapes, and then it'll show you the different shapes you can do. You can do a path in which you can draw out the trend. You can do circles, ellipses, everything that you could possibly need is going to be on here. Curves, S curves, blah blah blah. You can put arrows and everything on there as well, and a highlighter. So plenty of little tools inside of geometric shapes, but that is what we use to draw out our supply and demand. And then of course, if you favorite it, it'll always be at the top of the screen so that you can use it at any time to draw resistance, support, supply, demand. And remember that there's going to be a little text box inside of these where you can write your words. But you guys have a great night. That's it for the video. We'll try to look at some other trades. Right now we're kind of just consolidating at the high from the end of the day. So I'm either looking to break out to the upside or fall pretty drastically in the middle of the night to a low, at least a 200 EMA, and then push up from that point. You guys have a good night. Take the easy money. This is your boy Sebastian. This has been another full transparency trading session, and I'm out.